Hello, this is Sheshachalam from Astroguide Mysore. So, continuing the Karako Bhava Nashaya, I have yesterday done Sun and Moon, the Karako Bhava Nashaya with respect to Sun and Moon, where actually there is no Karako Bhava Nashaya at all, until unless they are malefically placed. So, today we will go through three more planets. One is Mars, which is the Karaka for the third house, because it is the Parakrama Karaka, that is for valor, courage, strength, Bhujabala, that is the shoulder strength. Sixth house for eliminating enemies and competitiveness, motivation, vigor, courage, all these things again once in the sixth house to do service. So this is a very strong Karaka for the third and the sixth. So if Mars is posited in the third house, Karako Bhava Nashaya means that when the Karaka planet, that is a signifying planet, sits in this signified house, that is the house which it signifies, then in certain cases it kills the house or it kills its Karakatva. That means it restricts the native from operating in those areas of life.
Not all, no?
Not all areas of life. Those few Karakas of life. And I'll tell you what it is. You might be hearing some building construction noises, so please bear with me. So bear with them also, they can't stop. So, Mars in the third house. I'm just giving you an example. So, Mars in the third house. Third house is for Bhratru Karaka. That is one of the major Karakatwas, Bhratru. What is Bhratru? The word which is extended and makes brother. Bhratru. Bhratru means siblings. Particularly Bhratru, Putra. This is how in Sanskrit they call it. Putra Karaka. That doesn't mean that it's only for son. Putra in Sanskrit means son. But actually it should be Santana Karaka. Here it is Bhratru Karaka. It is actually Bhratru and Bhagini, that is brother and sister. So we can't tell Bhratru Bhagini Karaka. So we are telling Bhratru Karaka as per Sanskrit text. So it's for siblings. So when Mars is posited in the third house, unafflicted, then also it becomes Karako Bhava Nashaya. It gives trouble in further siblings for that person. That means the parents of this native might have this native as their last child, or this native might be the youngest in the family. That is because the third house is having Mars. Why the third house restricts siblings is from here the third house is the first sibling. And from here another three houses you will get the second sibling. These are younger siblings. Second younger sibling. So from there again if you go three houses you will get the third younger sibling. So usually it jumps like this. So if you go like this, it is the first elder sibling. Okay. So it again goes like this. So it keeps jumping like this. So this is how we see it in the D1 chart. And this also should be reconfirmed in the D3 chart. What is D3? D3 is the third division and it is known as the Drekana. So Drekana is also known for siblings. Okay. Excuse me. Sorry. Okay. So, Mars, if it is posited in the third house in the D1 chart, and the first house, that is the ascendant, in the D3 chart, then Karako Bhava Nashaya is applicable. It doesn't mean that the person will never have siblings. It's not like that. The chance of this native being the youngest in the family, that is, after that his parents might not have children, is or he might be the only child if once again there is another Karako Bhava Nashaya here. This is for elder siblings. So, if Shani is there in the 12th or the 11th house, very near to, in these houses, so then it stops the elder child. So this, it shows indication, it doesn't stop, it can't stop because you were not yet born. So this has to happen and then only you will be born. But it is an indicator that if you are the first child and you have Shani here and you are going to have Mars here, that means earlier there might have been an abortion or something else which might have, not allowed an elder brother in for you or elder sister for you. So these are Karako Bhava Nashayas which are not 100% exact. The percentage earlier in some other placements you can tell that it is not at all exact. That is, it might be 50-50, we don't know. But here in this we can tell the tendency is 80% or more than 85%. The native will not have younger siblings. So this is how the Karako Bhava Nashaya is to be seen. If this is fortified, that is, it has a double combination, that is, in the D3 chart, if Mars is in the ascendant of D3, then Karako Bhava Nashaya is complete. That means the percentage is not 80 anymore, it's more than that. It is 90-95% that this native will be the youngest in the family.
Please also mention that only this Karaka is hit.
Only this Karaka is hit. The other Karakatva like Vikrama Karakatva, that is, the person will have strong shoulders, he can become a martial art expert, he can go into yoga, do sports, and he is a little rough, he is a little, rude, open in communication, he is a little frank while he is speaking. All the Karakatvas will remain. This is only the Karakatva with regard to Bhratru, only with regard to brothers, nothing else. So that is one thing. Second thing is the 6th house. 6th house is for motivation, service, and also elimination of enemies. So less enemies or no enemies, because he himself will have eliminated them. So usually when Krura Grahas like Rahu or like Mars sit in the 6th house, the native will have the capacity to eliminate his enemies. Eliminate in the sense that not killing them all, nothing like that. Eliminate in the sense that to avoid them or make them go away from his path of life, wherever he wants to achieve. People will become bhada. Bhada means bhadaka. They will become hurdles. So to push them away or to make them go away. That is what. Not eliminate is not that to really eliminate. Okay. So the 6th house. This actually, in this there is no Karako Bhava Nashaya. If Mars is positive in the 6th house, that means it increases, it enhances. So this particular thing enhances. This placement enhances the 6th house and the native will have stronger Karaka for the 6th. So everywhere Karako Bhava Nashaya does not work for every position of a planet. So we should be very careful while we are actually dealing with these planets. So let me go to the next planet, which is Buddha. Buddha is Buddhi Karaka. Let us first go to the first Karakatva of Buddha. It is Buddhi Karaka. That is, it gives a lot of intelligence. Intelligence in the sense that immediate intelligent. There are 3 types of intelligence: Chitta, Buddhi and Prajna. So what is Chitta, Buddhi and Prajna? So we keep telling, there is a saying, Shanachitta, Shanapitta. Shanachitta, Shanapitta means it is an immediate intelligence. Chitta means immediate intelligence. Prajna is consciousness. Buddhi is Chitta, Buddhi, Prajna, in that the Buddhi is the memory, that is the intelligence which is there because of experience. So there are 3, that is, one is in the forefront, that is immediate. So there are 3 types of intelligence. Immediate intelligence, one is memory because of experience, that is also intelligence, and the other one is consciousness. You know what you are doing. You know what you are doing. You know where you are. You know what actually your role is in that situation. That is, so these three are controlled by Buddha. So the consciousness will have the influence of sun. You have to see the sun. The memory and the experience will have the influence of Saturn, and the immediate will have Mars. Why? This is logic. This is experience. This is confidence. And soul. And real-time consciousness. Real-time consciousness. So, you need to understand everything will have a mix. It will not be that, you cannot define everything just with one planet and finish it. It is very difficult. But anyway, this is what is Buddha. Buddha, Buddhi or Prajna or the brain, it should sit in the brain. See, if it sits in the brain, if people think that if Buddha sits in the ascendant, that the person will lose intelligence, then it is wrong. So, Karako Bhava Nashaya, I have not put that because it doesn't happen there. The first house will enhance. It's an excellent combination for Buddha to be sitting in the first house and the ninth house. These are the two positions where Buddha becomes extremely strong. So, Karako Bhava Nashaya does not apply to Buddha when it is in the first house. So, that means it increases Buddhi. Secondly, Karako Bhava Nashaya does not apply when Buddha is in the fifth house, once again. So, fifth house, first or fifth house, both are for intelligence and this imagination. This memory experience is also linked with imagination. So, once again, this is a very, very good position for intelligence. That is not a good position for having children. Why? Buddha is a Napumsaka. That is, Buddha is a eunuch as per its original traits which we teach. So, when Buddha is in the fifth house, that means the native, whether a boy or a girl, might have some difficulty in having children if it is weak and malefically posited. Weak and malefically posited with, once again, if there is an aspect of Saturn. So, let us say Saturn is here and aspecting Buddha, or Saturn itself is there with it. So, 100% it will get malefically influenced, and it will have the particular bhava will get destroyed to a certain extent. So, the sixth house, which is Matula Karaka. Matula means maternal uncle. It's an uncle from the mother's side, so maternal uncle. So, if Buddha is in the sixth house, let us go to this particular combination. I'll just hold to one ascendant. It is applicable to all ascendants. So, do not think that I am only doing it for Aquarius and it is only applicable for Aquarius. Nothing like that. It is applicable for all ascendants. So, Matula Karaka, when Buddha is in the sixth house, the native will have fear, inconfidence, no confidence. Why? The sixth house means Paurusha, courage, and ready to vanquish all his enemies. How can Buddha vanquish any enemies? He himself will become very soft. He can get bullied also. So that is why he always stays under the support, or what we call as the shadow of his uncles. Below their support, below their chaya, what we call as their protection. So this is where the Matula Karaka is actually affecting the native. This is not a good position for Mercury to be placed in the chart, sixth house. Except for if you go to Vasumati Yoga, you will feel that, sir, you are contradicting here. Vasumati Yoga tells that if Mercury is placed in the sixth house and there is a beautiful eighth house and the seventh house is strong and there is a garland which is very strong, then that means Vasumati Yoga is there. Vasumati Yoga will happen, but that doesn't mean all Vasumati Yoga natives are all Paurusha or are having courage or strength. So, depending on where the planet is placed, once again, he might be a very timid, soft spoken and ready to listen to others. It might happen. Vasumati Yoga does not mean that character is defined. So, this is what happens when Buddha sits in the sixth house. So, the Karako Bhava Nashaya applies. That means it is not a good position for Buddha to be placed in the sixth house. contradicting the placement of the 10th house is an extremely good placement for Buddha. This is the 10th from here, so 11th and 12th. So this is the 10th house, and Buddha placed in the 10th house for any ascendant is good. But it should be placed along with, this is very important, please understand, this is what is analysis. It should be placed along with a slow moving planet. Benefic planet. Here benefic means natural benefic. So there is only one natural benefic which is a slow moving planet, and it is Jupiter. What happens if it is placed with Saturn, which is also slow moving, and it's a benefic, means with regard to Buddha, Buddha thinks Saturn is a friend, but it actually is not a good planet for the 10th house. So Karako Bhava Nashaya will apply if Saturn and Buddha are in the 10th house. But here, if Buddha is placed in the 10th house and is along with Jupiter, then it will double enhance. It will not only enhance, it will give extreme thrust to professionalism in their job. They are very, very good professionals. Why? Because Buddha is intelligence, and only Buddha would have made the person go through anxiety in the job place, that is in the professional place, in his occupation or his vocation. So what he would do is he would leave that, go to another one, again do some number of months there, again leave that and go to another. So hop, skip, jump will keep happening if only Buddha is there. Well placed Buddha only I am talking about. I am not talking here anything about the malefic placements. Malefic placement, you know that the person will suffer in his job. But here, though Buddha is alone and is well placed in the 10th house, still the native will go through a lot of variations in job. He will not have his mind fixed to the job. So Jupiter along with Buddha will give extreme stability. It's one of the very good yogas. I have read in some commentaries of classics where they have equated this particular combination to Gajakesari yoga. So don't only think that Gajakesari yoga happens only with moon. So Jupiter and Buddha together conjunct in 10th house or any other house also will equally act as Gajakesari yoga. Okay, now let me go through the most important of the planets with regard to Karako Bhava Nashaya. I did not go through the divisional chart for Buddha because there are too many complications to deal with in the divisional charts. I did not go through that. If at all, if I go to the D10 chart, then again I will have to have taken the D10 chart ascendant, and in the D10 chart ascendant or in the D10 chart 10th house or 7th house or the 4th house of the D10 chart, if Buddha is placed, then the person will have good promising career. I just told it so that you people can make a note of it. So Jupiter, once again let me take another ascendant in the 2nd house. Jupiter means Dhanakaraka, for wealth. So 2nd house is for wealth. So if Jupiter is placed in the 2nd house itself, that is Dhanakaraka, sitting in Dhanasthana, then Karako Bhava Nashaya should happen as per the real text or as per many commentaries, but it will not happen. Jupiter in the 2nd house will give rise to a very strong Raja Yoga or a Dhana Yoga. So there is no Karako Bhava Nashaya when Jupiter is in the 2nd house for any ascendant. Even when Jupiter is debilitated, even for this ascendant, there is no Karako Bhava Nashaya with regard to wealth, except and unless with it is placed along with Rahu or some other planet which is retro, which is trying to pull it. But apart from that, Jupiter will give good wealth and stability to the native. So in the 2nd house, it's a very good placement. Okay, this is fine. So that means it enhances. The 5th house, this is not fine actually. This actually is not fine. So let me deal with the 5th house Jupiter. Here the avastha of Jupiter is very important. If Jupiter is exalted, with lot of difficulty, the person will have progeny. If the Jupiter is debilitated, then progeny will become a pain or bane for that particular native throughout life. So it's like they want to have a children, they want to have a child, but it doesn't happen. And with lot of difficulty, there is a chance that they might get a child. So it is not that Karako Bhava Nashaya applies in toto when Jupiter is in the 5th house, but still it will stress its delay because of some medical factor. So let me write it here. So this in D1 it says the 5th house. D1 it is the 5th house, and in D7 it is the ascendant. So what is D7? It is the Saptamsha. Saptamsha is seen for progeny or the well-being or how many children will the person have, the fertility of the native. Even the Bijasputa and the Kshetrasputa also have to be counted. I am not doing all that here itself today. So in the D1 chart, the 5th house has to be seen. And if the Karaka for the 5th house, that is Jupiter, with regard to children. So here it is only with regard to children. So if Jupiter is in the 5th house and is in the ascendant of D7 chart, Karako Bhava Nashaya is total. If it is not in the ascendant of the D7 chart, that means it is partial Karako Bhava Nashaya. And if Jupiter is along with, let us say, the most dreadful planet to be with in the 5th house along with Jupiter is Saturn, which actually delays and delays and delays. But the funny part is, he will have a late child. So the thing is that Saturn delays but never denies. It only delays but never denies. Who is that? Saturn. But Jupiter will delay and deny. So Jupiter will delay and deny. The point is that when Jupiter will delay and deny, and if Saturn is there along with it, the pain and the sorrow and the grief will be more. But child, the promise of child is there. So if in the D7 chart also Jupiter is in the ascendant and here it is in the 5th house, but along with Saturn, there is still a chance that the person might go through some medical procedure and have a child. But usually when we see Saturn in the 5th house and we have Karako Bhava Nashaya, it is very clearly said that the first child or the child would be adopted. Adoption is seen because of this position here. With Karako Bhava Nashaya, not without Karako Bhava Nashaya. If simply Saturn is sitting in the 5th house, please don't think that now 5th house there is Saturn, then that means you should not have your own child, you should get adopted. Second child you plan of your own. They are not like that. All that advices are all wrong. So we should go for the right analysis. If there is Karako Bhava Nashaya, if Putrasthana has got hit very strongly, and along with that if Saturn is aspecting or Saturn is posited, Saturn can aspect or posit in these three places. This is the 3rd aspect, this is the 7th aspect, and this is the 10th aspect. This is 10, this is 7, and this is 3. So if Saturn is aspecting the 5th house along with Putra Karaka, Jupiter there, then Karako Bhava Nashaya is very strong and there is a very strong, idea of adoption. Okay. Next, we will go to the 10th house where actually there is no Karako Bhava Nashaya. I don't have to explain this 10th house in detail because Jupiter is the Karaka for the 10th house, that is for a profession, and there is no Karako Bhava Nashaya if Jupiter is placed in the 10th house. It's very good. As actually I have already told you, when it is placed along with Mercury, it's an excellent combination for the 10th house because both are Karakas here. Mercury, Jupiter, both are Karakas for the 10th house. Okay. So I think I have covered 3 planets today. Tomorrow I will be covering the next 2 planets, that is Venus and Saturn, with regard to Karako Bhava Nashaya, because Venus actually creates one and Saturn also creates another one. I will talk about that tomorrow. Thank you.